Well, aloha, aloha kakahiaka, everybody. This is our live real estate. This is the Aloha Friday Hawaii real estate show. We're in the pre-game section of our show. We take about 5 minutes to kind of warm everything up, to get used to do our audio checks, let the audience start to come in. So if you're watching this pre-recorded, if you're watching this on demand, you could fast forward for 5 minutes, or you could just kind of join us and kind of hang out over here with me and my friends. We got Dylan Nonaka, who is with us from the Big Island. How's it, Dylan? We have Scott Startzman, who is with us on Oahu. That's a real photo of that's not a real photo. It's a real background behind him. That's truly where he is right now. And we have Heidi Dollinger. Heidi, how's it from Maui, is joining us. So I'm really happy. We do this every other Friday. We got links in the description if you need help on anything. We talk about real estate in Hawaii. So we're going to warm this one up over here, and I'm going to go counterclockwise for today. Heidi, what's your coffee specialty? What's on your mind there? What's your coffee, or you're wearing those puka shell earrings again that you brought out last week? What's on the coffee? What's in the coffee cup, Heidi?
So this morning I'm drinking a Maui Typica. It's such a flavorful coffee. These same beans are actually grown in Kona as well, but when they're grown on Maui, it's Maui Typica, and it's less expensive than Kona coffee. It's just a great time of year. I was out on my lanai this morning. I can see whales, the humpback whales, come to Maui every year to give birth to their calves, and you can see them out there in the ocean. It's just a really great time of year.
That's got to be so cool. I mean, everyone loves looking at the whales, and we got them here on Oahu, but you have to hike out to, the southeast area of Oahu. But you get to see them like out of your house. You could look out or close by.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a distance, but you can see them breaching.
You can still see them. Wow.
You can see them out in the ocean. I mean, they're everywhere this time.
How cool is that? How cool is that? How cool is that? Scott, what's going on there, buddy? What's the shirt? What's the background? What's the weather? What's going on?
Background is Diamond Head. I'm right at the base of Diamond Head, where I always come from typically. But it's been an action-packed week. It's been an awesome, insane week, I should say, because not only did we have like surf that was probably the most insane for a decade.
Crazy.
Massive surf, which was awesome, incredible.
I got a great video I'm going to show during the news about this. So yeah, totally amazing. It's nuts.
But even for me, it was action-packed week. I think I wrote 5 offers. I actually was doing the landscaping at my project also at the same time. So I'm pretty worn out. My muscles are all achy. I planted over 20 palm trees and over 25 ginger plants, a whole yard in general. So it's been a great week. I feel good.
You have a good weekend when you have a good weekend when your muscles are sore. That's like having that physical workout is a good one. So excellent. Dylan, what's going on, buddy? What's the shirt? Give us the shirt intro, because you are the fashionista of the group over here. Believe it or not, Dylan. What's going on?
The standard 6 Zane from the Big Island, always representing the Big Island. I got the most of these, probably got 25 or 30 of these. So one day I'll wear them all. I think we're probably getting to that point on the show. So just another beautiful day over here. Actually, the fog's been not as bad. So I think the volcano's kind of calming down over here, and it's been raining a lot lately. So it's nice because we had a couple of months of a dry spell there. So everything's getting green and the grass is growing quickly again. And yeah, just another beautiful day on the Big Island.
How's that go? Another shitty day in paradise, as some people say, right? Excuse my language, but that's what people say. Some quick shout outs there. Christina is here with us. Hey, Christina, great to see you here. Glad you're with us. And Jim is as reliable as the sunrise with our shows. Jim's here every week. Rhonda, great to see you. Rhonda, thank you for coming in. And Kimberly from Kauai. Aloha, Kimberly from Kauai. Sending us some nice flowers. Great profile photo there as well. Kimberly, thanks for doing that. Yeah, it's been an interesting week, and is it about that time? Let's see, my clock says 9:59, so I'm going to wait till 10 a.m. exactly before we kind of get the ball rolling over here and talk about the stuff that we want to share. But it's great to see you all here again. It is 10 o'clock. Let us get on to our official show start. So let's begin over here. Welcome everyone to our January 22nd. This is the Aloha Friday Hawaii show where I am here. I'm your host, Peter Kay, and I'm here with my friends from across the state. We've got Dylan Nonaka from the Big Island. We got Scott Startzman on Oahu, and we got Heidi Dollinger, and she's on Maui, and we're here to take your questions. We got a bunch of topics that we want to talk about, and we got some good friends who are coming in. There's Richard Lancaster. Aloha, Richard. Good to see you again, buddy. And Kimberly, yes, that is how's that, Kimberly? It is a hibiscus flower in my yard, only on Kauai. Well, not only on Kauai, but I want to say that's a classic thing in Hawaii to be able to do that, right? And we got Robert, aloha from California. Great, Robert. Thanks so much for being here. And the questions are coming in already, which is great. So Eric Lindebach, hey, Eric, how's it? Aloha Friday, everybody. Aloha Friday indeed. Is there a better day than Friday in Hawaii? I don't think so. I do not think so. We got a question here from Rhonda. So Rhonda, we'll take your question in a sec. Let me kind of get started here with, we got our going to be our little news segment. So what we're going to do is I'm going to switch this over a little bit. I'm going to shake it up a little bit here and talk about, we're going to switch this to some news and interesting things, as well as COVID, of course, that we talk about first. So let's open this up. The big news for this week related to COVID is Maui. Maui COVID rules are changing. And what's going on with Maui is starting this week, started on Tuesday of this week, Maui County began requiring all inter-island and trans-Pacific travelers to the isle to download the state's new Aloha Safe Alert app prior to arrival, or else undergo mandatory 10-day quarantine. This is in addition to the negative COVID-19 test already required prior to travel under the state's Safe Travels program in order to bypass the quarantine. So what that means you got to have two apps now. Two. The one is the Safe Travels app, which is the one that you use to upload your negative COVID test before you come to Hawaii, and you are able to kind of come here and stay without quarantine. This other one is this new one. It's the Aloha Safe Alert app, which is one of these apps that they're encouraging actually everybody in Hawaii to have this app. It uses Bluetooth technology to kind of see if the person that you're close, if you come near a person who also has the app, these apps talk to each other to see if you've come in proximity. And if you come in proximity, it makes some sort of a log. And then if someone that you ever came into proximity with got sick, everybody would get notified, including you. So it's a way they're using to help hopefully control the outbreak. This is not the only app. This app is being used. Not this specific app, but apps like this are being used across the country. So that's the big news on what's going on Maui. The other one, vaxxers exempted. I hope vaxxer is not a pejorative. I don't mean it to be but the word vaccinated travelers was too long to fit in the thing. What's going on is this: there is some talk that vaccinated travelers could be exempt from quarantine testing by the spring. So there's been some chatting going around. Our Lieutenant Governor Josh Green, he said that travelers who get vaccinated for COVID-19 will likely be exempted from quarantine and testing requirements as early as this spring. So there's some talk, the long and short of this is that there's some talk going on that if you're vaccinated, you would be able to become exempt from quarantine. I hope that's going to be the case. It's just talk right now. There's nothing been officially stated. Last week, man, it was a heck of a week, man. We had some serious weather, hardcore, very windy weather. We had floods, we had outages. There's a couple of photos there. Actually, was rather personal for me. If you look at that middle photo, that's just a photo in urban Honolulu, and that's kind of what it was looking like. It was rainy and windy, and that picture. Let me see if I could open this up just a little bit more. That picture on the left there, the lower left picture, that's a tree on the ground. That is my tree and my backyard. So the tree got knocked over. That's an old cherry tree that actually has been on our property for really since before we got here, which was for over 25 years ago on the property. So it was sad to see that tree go. It had a beautiful monstera plant that was around it and came down. Winds just took it down. So that was a bummer. We also had some huge surf, and Scott had mentioned the surf in the pregame show about the surf. Let me give you a quick video. There's some really cool footage here. Let's see if we could play this. Bear with me here. I'm going to see if we could open this up. So this is what I wanted to make. I wanted to show you here, walk through on this one here. So you see here, it's gigantic surf. Those are jet skis in the water over here. And here you see a big wave coming in, right? And everyone's just kind of still, they're just kind of lounging around. They're waiting for the right wave. Everything's cool, nobody's kind of moving around. Crazy surf there. Sadly to say, the guy that one that you saw that really got some serious air, he had to be 50 feet in the air, right? These waves are 25 feet, 30 feet high from trough to crest. Jet ski going full bore to make it over. You saw that ramp. The guy got air. He had to be 50 feet in the air. So imagine crashing into the water from a 50-foot high thing with a jet ski. Broke his back. He's in the hospital and undergoing a spinal surgery. Hope he's going to be okay. But that was crazy. That was really, really crazy. So that was the news from last week. From everybody, is there anything you want to add about the news? Let's just go right down the line here. Dylan, anything you want to add, experiences that you had during the week about this weather that we had?
The weather wasn't that bad on the Big Island. Well, I always joke, but I'm serious that like Kona has the best weather in the whole entire world because we're protected by the mountains. And so there was in other parts of the state, it was kind of weird, but in Kona we had some rain, we had some drizzling, some days where it drizzled all day long, which is odd for the west side, but none of the like extreme. It's funny because we get flash flood warnings on our phones, right? And you go look outside and it's like drizzling and it doesn't ever rain very hard. But I guess the weather man says something different than what actually happens. But yeah, it's been pretty it's been nice because we had a couple of dry months there during the holidays. And so we needed the rain to get everything back to being green. And the only other thing I have to say about the COVID thing is I did have my first experience with a client that flew in that actually got tested at the wrong facility and was ordered to quarantine and ended up actually just turning around and going back to the mainlands because it was kind of a wasted trip if they would have to quarantine. So they are being strict about that. So far, all of my experiences with lots of people have been pretty smooth, that they come here and as long as they got the testing from the right provider, they go through the process here and they continue on with their trip. But finally had some personal experience with one that messed it up and had to go home.
You got it. Planning is the name of the game over here. Scott, how was did you see how many down trees were there around where you were at with the wind and the rain that we had this week?
I didn't notice any downed trees, but I will take full responsibility for all this weather because I delivered plants, all my plants and sod on Friday. And by Saturday, I was losing my mind. Luckily, I had taken my sod and I had laid it on the ground to prevent from, erosion when it's raining straight onto the dirt, it messes everything up. So luckily I had done that and I didn't have any issues. And I had moved all the palm trees and everything into my garage and closed the door. But yeah, it was pretty nuts. I kept waking up every hour from hearing the winds and the rain, worrying about the project and stuff. But luckily nothing happened for me in my project. And I didn't notice anything around the neighborhood. That surf video you showed them, that was outer reef Oahu, there was some insane surf. But I also saw some last night of Jaws over on Maui, where Heidi is.
Jaws. Yep.
It was almost even more insane, some of the stuff they were dropping in on it. If you ever get the chance to see that, if you drive up to the North Shore, I remember 2005 when I came over here from the Big Island, and I had to park 2 miles away to walk down to where they were having the eddy at Waimea Bay. There must have been 10,000 people on the beach, and these guys are ants, and it really puts in perspective the power. And you hear that cracking; it sounds like a freight train coming down the pipe there. It's impressive.
Yeah, I've got I'll share a moment if I have. We have a lot of questions coming in, a lot of activity, which is wonderful, and I want to hear, Heidi, what's been your experience? How was the weather, or what happened during the week overview, or anything else you want to talk about as far as news goes?
Well, we did have a little stormy weather here on Monday. There was some flash flooding in central Maui. Out where I was still out showing properties, and it was actually a good day to see which properties had the more protected lanai areas. So it turned out to be a great day, and also enjoy watching the big wave surfers. Those are the kind of conditions I personally stay out of the ocean in, but it's fun to watch other people.
Now, you mentioned earlier, do you live nearby Honolulu, which is Jaws? Do you live near that area, or is that far away from you?
Well, I live near Honolulu, which is a famous surf spot. Jaws is on the North Shore.
Oh, I have it wrong. So Honolulu Bay and Jaws are not the same place.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Excellent. And earlier, Heidi was mentioning that she this time of the year she sees whales outside of her house, which is like about as cool as it gets. There's very few bragging points of Hawaii that beat. I see whales outside of my house, which is totally awesome. Let me catch up on a few folks here who are. Go to this view here. Let me catch up on a few folks that are saying hello. So let me kind of catch everybody here. Robert gave us that hello from hello. We got Rhonda. I got your question. Eric had said, okay, yeah, AKA the North Pole, Heather. Yeah, aloha, Heather. Sorry about that. Yeah, I left the Midwest 36 years ago. Not going back. Kimberly, okay. If you're on Kauai, we got Friday is the best day because we had specials on Kauai for sure. Gina, I got your question. We're going to come back to it after we do the real estate update. So hold on to that. Ray gives a big mahalo. Ray gives a big mahalo to Scott. All right, welcome. And of course, mahalo to Peter. Hey, Scott, Ray, this is what we do. This is what we do. This is my this is sort of my mission here. And Judy Everett, Aloha Friday from Colorado. Absolutely. Kimberly is giving us great updates. The app's not so hot. There's a bunch of issues. It's self-reporting. People have to test positive. Who knows what's going on? Thanks, Kimberly, for the update. Flash floods on Kauai as well. This is great. Kimberly, you got to come on the show. And 9 cases on Kauai. Thanks so much. Oh, Bernard, welcome back, buddy. You got the EV charging support. Great, got that question. Hold on, we will get to your questions first. Yeah, so Kimberly moved to Hawaii 6 years ago from Colorado. Well, there you go. That's the connections here. And finally, Jeremy from Arizona. Welcome back, Jeremy. Seeing a lot of familiar faces here, which is wonderful. Great to have you folks back. It's fabulous. We're going to get to the questions first, as I talked to you folks earlier. The ones that are here. Those are the questions that we prioritize. I've got a stack of slides with a great program, but we're going to go through what we've got for the people that are here. And let's see here. Let me switch now to. I got a technical difficulty here. Bear with me here for a moment while we get this show kind of started again. And we got Jeremy's hello, and I think that the YouTube video. Oh, there we go. Okay, great. So we're back. Stand by while we get this going, everybody. All right. So we are going to do a quick real estate market update. We get a really quick update from kind of what's been happening over the past 2 weeks in the real estate market. And also, by the way, I had a question here from Janice who asked, what do those letters mean? You guys got letters after each of your names. So when you give us your real estate update, just tell me what those letters means, like Dylan, what does VIC mean, etc. So let's go right down the line here. Dylan, get a quick update. What's happened on the Bay Island for the past 2 weeks?
It's continuing to be the same that it has been for the last 2 months. It's off the charts. I just looked this morning, and in my local market in Kona on the west side, there are 22 homes under $1 million. And there's not that many really less than 800,000, because there's none under 5, there's 3 under 6, but 2 of them are 599, so they're really 6. There's like 5 under 7. I mean, there's the inventory, especially in the more affordable range, is totally gone right now, and everything that's coming on the market is going almost immediately. I wrote a offer sight unseen on a $2 million house yesterday that came on the market yesterday. So people are not wasting time, and they're buying right away. And the people who are asking, should we wait? Is it too hot right now? Those same people were asking that 6 months ago, and you're getting your answers. You should have bought it 6 months ago if you were waiting for things to cool down, because it's not slowing down. And we have a real problem with inventory right now. We're at like historic lows in terms of inventory. So everything that's out there is being bought. And if you're considering selling your house, now is a really good time, because there are lots of buyers out there who are willing to make concessions. It's definitely shifted into a seller's market here on the Big Island for sure. So very busy.
Crazy, man. I mean, those are some crazy numbers. I mean, Kona used to be the Big Island used to be affordable. That's wild. Kevin is been here for a week in my condo, had it for a few years now, trying to decide between living here or buying on the Big Island. Well, Kevin, you're here with the right people. You've got Heidi, who's on Maui, and you've got Dylan, who's on the Big Island. You can sell the condo through Heidi, and you can buy the other place through Dylan, and you might even get somebody here who wants to buy and sell. God knows. Scott, what's the market been like on Oahu? Anything new over the past 2 weeks you want to share?
Yeah, actually, I am seeing a new trend. I would describe the market over here as kind of like our surf the past weekend. It's insane, and it's like a once in a decade kind of movement going on here. It's really busy. As I mentioned last show, our inventory levels are for the single family home side are back to where we were in 2007, which was the height of the previous market. We had 10% price appreciation on the single family home side for the year of 2020. So the trend that I'm seeing now is townhouses and condos were a little slower because the migration with COVID was to the single family home side, with interest rates having dropped, into more stay away, get back to a better sanctuary, more open space. That was kind of the natural progression. But because prices are starting to move and the competition has gotten so significant in the single family home side, what I'm now noticing is the townhouse side and the condos are starting to move more, especially in the affordable price points. Once we get off the show, I'm submitting an offer where we're competing with 15 other offers on a townhouse out in Eva Beach. Those prices are up 6% on the townhouses there. What I did dive into, because once I saw those numbers, I'm like, all right, now the condos are starting to move because they're going to follow the single family homes as they move up, right? That's natural because they appear affordable. I did look at Kaka'ako, which is going to be our higher price point, and those are still not moving as quickly. So you're talking, that $2 million plus $1.5 million plus condo range. And part of that is because Japan can now travel, the Japanese can travel, but they have to quarantine for 14 days when they go back. So we don't have the Japanese market. Korean market's kind of in the same boat. So we don't have a lot of that foreign influence that we have in Kaka'ako. So the buyer pool for those upper level echelon properties in Kaka'ako is going to be a little slower for a little while here. Same with Waikiki.
Thanks, Scott, for the update. Thanks, Scott. I got your side message on the microphone. Is this a better? Okay, good. Thanks, everybody. I have multiple mics and I got the wrong one, but that's geekiness, and we're not going to talk about geekiness. We're going to talk about Heidi and Maui. What's going on with the market over the past 2 weeks that you want to report on, Heidi? Real estate market.
Well, there is just this velocity in the market right now. I mean, it's just getting busier and busier, and it's this widespread acceptance of remote work and virtual meetings that's giving so many more people freedom to live where they want to live or travel for part of the year, spend part of the year on Maui, part of the year somewhere else. And it's just, we have this super strong buyer demand. We are starting to see multiple offers on a lot of properties where that wasn't as common before. Our 2020 numbers for both homes and condominium prices were up significantly, and a large part of that was driven by the large number of high-end and luxury sales in 2020. And we see that continuing, and now it's trickling down, and some of the mid-range other inventory is just really going faster. So there's still some good values in the market, but I do see those getting absorbed these coming months. And there's certainly no market data to suggest that sellers in the future, are going to accept lower prices. So, if you're waiting for the right time to buy in Maui, I would just ask, what are you waiting for?
It's really funny. I got to tell you guys, we talk about the real estate market every 2 weeks, right? And you guys have dragged me through this. Whether I like it or not, I do like it. It's fun, but you guys have dragged me through these updates every 2 weeks, and pre-COVID and everything. And we were all, I remember very, very clearly, we were telling everybody, hey, if you're looking at getting a house, you need to get here now before the wave comes, because as soon as the COVID thing starts really loosening up, the market's going to tighten up. And that's exactly what has happened. And the market is super tight. So it's been really amazing to kind of watch. And, if we have time, I want to kind of talk about, well, what's the bigger trend here? I think it's kind of what Heidi is talking about. We're entering a new world where more and more people are mobile, remote workers. And I'm curious in the comments if you consider yourself a remote worker. If you are, would you kind of throw something in the comments? Just say something to the effect of "I'm a remote worker" or whatever. I'd like to know how many of you that are watching right now are remote workers or potential remote workers. That would be interesting. We forgot to, Janice had the question of what the letters mean. So we need to kind of go through quickly what those letters mean. So let me kind of throw over here. Dylan, what does BIC stand for?
I'll give you the brief. I got a whole video blog on this to explain it all, 'cause it can be complicated. So there's two types of real estate licenses in Hawaii. There's a real estate salesperson license, and then there's a real estate broker's license. And so when you initially get a license, you get a salesperson's license. You have to sell real estate for 3 years full time in order to qualify to get a broker's license. You have to take a separate test, and you got to pass at a higher rate to get your broker's license. You can still just be a broker salesperson, right? Have your broker's license and just sell real estate. Or to be like a broker administrator in a real estate company, there's two types. There's principal brokers, which every real estate company has one principal broker. They're the broker of record, the one that's overall responsible for the entire company. And then they can appoint brokers in charge, BICs, who can also review contracts. So one thing that's somewhat unique about Hawaii, the Hawaii real estate law, is that every contract that gets written has to be reviewed by a broker, either a broker in charge or a principal broker. If you're just a real estate broker that is a salesperson, you don't have that signing authority. So in other states, you don't have that requirement. So in this state, sometimes there's a delay because if your broker's not available to sign review and sign your contract, sometimes there can be a few hours in between being able to submit your offer. So that's the one thing that's very important when you work with a realtor, is understanding that they have a broker support system that is going to review their contracts in a timely manner and get them signed off so you can submit them. So there's PB, BIC, RB, and then it's further confusing because like on the Big Island and Kauai, I think they're called real estate salesperson, so it's RS, and then on Maui and Oahu, it's RA, realtor associate. So it's
BIC stands for
broker in charge.
Broker in charge, and Scott, RA stands for
realtor associate. And I was a realtor salesperson on the Big Island. That's the only difference is the S to the A.
And Heidi, RB stands for
realtor broker.
Realtor broker. All right. Now the great mystery of what the letters stand for have been addressed. Stargazer, I hope you can hear us. I hope you can hear me. I hope everyone can hear me.
And one more thing on that trend, Peter, that I've been seeing, or I'm kind of noticing from feedback from people, is that yes, there are more remote workers, but then people are also, I think, reprioritizing their financial resources. So in the past, people used to deliberately put away money or plan to do travel, to go out and eat, do other things. And now people are looking at the world over the last 12 months, and potentially this could be something that happens in the future again. And they're putting more of an emphasis on their sanctuary, their home, right? So they're willing to spend more on a home and have something that's comfortable, that's spacious, that maybe has a pool. I mean, other things, because you're not prioritizing other discretionary spending as highly, so you can dedicate more of that income towards your home. So that's another trend I'm seeing, where people are saying like, I wanted to spend 7, but maybe we should spend 9 and get what we really want. So because a lot of times, or especially in the million plus range, I always joke, when somebody can spend 1.5, they can spend 2, right? I mean, it's like, yes, it's a lot of money to most people, but if you're shopping for $1.5 million house, normally you have the resources to spend 2 million if you really wanted to, right? And so people are kind of doing that, and it's leaning towards more higher end homes being sold that maybe those folks wouldn't have been in the market for prior to.
Yeah, got it. Thanks. That makes a lot of sense. You'd rather spend a couple $100,000 more, and if you're not going to take a bunch of trips, which are going to, how much, God knows how much a family trip is going to cost these days, especially from Hawaii. I don't think you can spend less than 10 or 15,000, 20,000 on a mainland trip from Hawaii. So it makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, I totally get it. Let's see. We got through our real estate update. There's a couple of real estate related questions over here. Let's see. Yeah. So Kevin, yeah, you need to talk to Dylan, Heidi, and maybe Scott as well for sure. Heidi, what is Heidi seeing as far as condos selling on Maui now? My mom just bought a house here, and I know that houses are crazy, but I'm not sure if condos have caught up with that yet. Heidi, what's the condo market like on Maui as far as you see?
Well, last year in 2020, because of everything going on with the island being shut down and the pandemic, number of condo sales was significantly lower than previous years. I mean, prices were pretty stable, but number of sales happening were lower. We're definitely seeing that pick up right now, especially just in the last couple months. And number of properties selling and going under contract now is higher than it was most of 2019 and 2020. But like I said, I mean, there's still some good values out there. It depends what you're looking for.
Thank you, Heidi. So Kevin, make sure we have a link in the description. Click in. Scott, there's something that you want to add? I kind of saw you making a motion there.
Yeah, real quick. And I think, the three of us have kind of chatted before, and I think they're seeing this as well, is I know here that fourth quarter really took off for us, and we're seeing that continued momentum carry into January. I don't think it's a coincidence that coincides when the state reopened tourism.
Yeah, that whole when that COVID thing got lifted is like, as we had talked about, the floodgates were going to be lifted. So that's definitely what the case is. Ron has got a quick one. Dylan, if you buy your own land, is it less expensive to build a modest home than to try to buy an existing property? Dylan, I remember we've talked about this before. We've answered this before, and I think there's a bunch of individual videos I clipped out. My synopsis of what we had all talked about is, if you can buy a pre-existing home, it's going to be a lot better. The process to go through building and finding a builder and construction and all that overhead ends up being more expensive. Dylan, is there anything that you'd add to that? We had talked about this before already.
Yeah, it really depends on what your process is. If you can do some of it owner builder, you have some skills, you got some friends and connections, you may be able to bring costs down. But if you go retail, you're not going to have a whole lot of equity built in, especially with the cost of land following the cost of housing up. Land's already expensive. Then you build a house, its cost per square foot is expensive. You don't have a lot of equity built in when you're done.
So it's not less expensive is the summary there. Great.
And what's the time cost of 12 to 18 months to go through the process? If you have the time, then maybe it makes sense, but it's not a quick process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Bernard, 100% remote for the past 4 years, moved to Oahu. Yeah, absolutely. Bernard, you want to make sure you get a hold. Well, stay on the channel, buddy. That's what it's all about. Ray says, I came to Oahu from Orange Beach, retired now, writing third novel. Awesome. A lot of appellate attorney, live Chesapeake Bay, remote discipline. Yeah, got it. Wish I'd moved to Hawaii years ago. Yeah, we talked about that at a previous show, Ray. You were probably here when we said, look, should you live where you're at or move to Hawaii now? And I think the consensus was move to Hawaii now, right? Yeah, Kimberly is really active. Thank you, Kimberly. God bless you. Permits on Kauai can take years, delays. Yeah, there's all kinds of delays. It's not an easy process. All right. I want to move. There's been a big topic that I've been holding on to that we get a lot of questions on, and I want to move into that topic. And then once we're done with this topic, we're going to come back and I'm going to hit everyone's questions that are there. Christina, we got yours. I got yours in queue. I got a bunch of other ones that we will cover. So let's kind of hit our big, huge topic over here because we get a lot of questions about this. So a lot of questions have come in about renting in Hawaii. Let me do a quick rundown of the kind of things that we've been getting. So Christy from Kansas City, how hard is it to get a place to rent without a job first? I know I can't get a loan until we have some income. John from Kansas said, hey, rental housing. I'm being transferred to Oahu for work. It's my wife and I have a small dog. Where should I start to look for housing? We're not ready to buy yet. How do we handle the pets? Christina from Kentucky. Hey, where is rent the cheapest with great beaches? Marianne from Pennsylvania. Would it be appropriate rental place for us? Where would be an appropriate rental price for a small house on the Big Island? Nothing fancy. Morgan, Big Island. Hey, I'm hoping to relocate to Hawaii with my company. How difficult is it to find a place to rent? And that's not it. We have more. We had Christina from Indiana. Hey, I want to live there, but right now my sons are starting their families. I don't want to miss it. So I'm thinking about a property I'll be able to rent, but visit a few times a year. Another one from Angie from California. My family of 3 humans, 3 humans and 2 small dogs are going to relocate to Oahu for my husband's job. It's been a dream for us. We're trying to find how do we find a pet-friendly, short-term furnished 2-bedroom rental for less than $6K a month? I've been searching all over the place. I've looked at VRBO and things of that nature. What do I do? Another question from Para from Tucson, Arizona. I'm a counselor and plan to move with dogs and children. Is it easier to rent or buy a house? And what does the job market look like for therapists? Marla from Texas. Is it better to get an apartment and pay the upfront entire lease while I look for a job, or look to purchase a cheap condo? You get the idea. There's all kinds of stuff going on about renting. So there's a lot to fly through. And so what I decided is that let's break this up and let's talk about renting. So Dylan, if you can talk to the rent versus buy kind of questions that we got, if you can kind of share what your insights are and your wisdom is on that. Scott, if you can kind of hit the whole, I want to find a short-term place to rent, rent for a couple months while I'm looking for a house, or, how do I get something because I can't rent remotely, it's not working for me, etc. If you could talk to that part. And Heidi, if you could kind of talk about the investment piece, right? When I'm a part-time, I want to live there a few months out of the year and maybe kind of rent out the rest of the unit. And also about pets. What's the deal with getting a place to rent with pets? I think if we do that, there'd be a good rental sort of a show here. Yeah, Christina, a lot of Christinas. So Dylan, and again, you guys want to talk about anything else as well, pop it in, but just on a general guideline basis. Dylan, rent versus buy. What's your advice here?
Well, the general advice versus rent versus buy is always, rent, you just take your cash and then write it on fire and it goes away, right? Because you're paying for a landlord to pay his mortgage or grow his equity in that property. And when you buy, you get tax benefits, your mortgage interest can be written off, plus you get the appreciation benefit over the years. So a lot of times the money that you pay towards a mortgage, you make back plus some, and you end up netting more of a benefit than you would that you paid through your mortgage over 5, 10, 15 years. So really, if you can buy, you should buy, just from a financial standpoint, a very basic financial standpoint. And I always tell people, regular folks, the biggest way for regular folks to build wealth is through real estate. I mean, just in your home, your single family home that you buy, not buying and selling and doing all kind of crazy other investments. But so definitely, if you can buy, you should. And, even if you're not buying the ideal thing, maybe in 3 to 5 years, you upgrade and you take the equity that you make from that house and then you go and you buy something else. But definitely, if you can, you should. And it's not always ideal, but definitely all of the problems that everybody is finding right now, that's not new. It's not going to change anytime soon. The rental market is always tight. There's very few rentals. And that's another option that you have if you buy, is you could become that landlord. Maybe you buy and in 5 years you buy something else and you turn that existing house that you have into a rental, and you reap the benefits of having 2 properties. So there's a lot to consider, but definitely, I know Heidi's got the pets topic. If you're trying to rent with pets, good luck. Very, very hard.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. Appreciate that. So Dylan, your advice is, if you can buy. If you can buy instead of rent, buy instead of rent. I think we're all in a huge agreement with that.
I mean, in our market here, the cost, I mean, it's almost 1-for-1. The cost to rent a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo in Kona is almost $2,000 a month. The cost to buy one is under $400,000. So your mortgage plus your HOA could be pretty much the exact same as your rent is going to be. And so you're not really there's this conventional wisdom that, like, maybe you save money by renting, you don't pay as much, but you also get none of it back. So even if you're paying a little bit more, 10, 20% more for a mortgage than you would rent, that is an investment towards your future, and you're banking that money for the future, which you're going to get back. You'll never get rent back.
A mortgage is the way I heard it in one sentence, a mortgage is a forced savings account. Okay, Scott, somebody wants to rent. They're coming to Oahu, whether they're coming for long-term or short-term. They can't find rentals easily because no one's renting to them. The landlords aren't even calling them back. What's your recommendation on what do I need to do to find a place to rent on Oahu? A lot of people ask you this question, Scott. So here's your chance to kind of give your answer to everybody.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit shocked at that because we don't have all the tourists here, and there's a lot of units that are kind of sitting empty. So that doesn't go with conventional wisdom and what I would expect right now. I take it back one step, and I would say, look, if you're looking at moving here and you're very familiar with the islands, you know exactly where you want to be, either what building, what neighborhood, come and do the short-term rental. Otherwise, if you're not that familiar, come and you either do a longer term rental, 6 months, or you get into a shorter term rental, say Waikiki, and then rent in another area. So you can start to get familiar with the culture, the area that you would want to be, commute times, things such as that. Do that first. The move is difficult to begin with to come over here. Then from the rental side, I mean, if you're looking at shorter term, Airbnb and VRBO, they're out there. There's, hotel occupancy right now is at 25%. That means the VRBO Airbnb rental market is going to be in that same category. We don't have all the tourists over here right now. So the shorter term vacation rental units, shorter term, say month to month, you can even negotiate on those, should be available. If you have pets, it gets significantly more complicated, and this is a rabies-free state, so which Heidi can talk about. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you have to do prior to coming here for your pet if you don't want your pet to be quarantined. And the shorter term rentals typically don't allow the pets for that in the shorter term. So if you're looking at renting for 5 months in some place, I'd say, hey, maybe bump it up to 6, 9 months, and you could potentially get a lower rent, but it's spread out over a longer period of time. You're going to have a little more success. The longer the period of time, the more likelihood they're going to allow pets, and you'll find more success. And Zillow.com is a great place for rentals. They are changing to a fee for service. They're getting rid of the free portion on that. So that may change some. Craigslist, you got to be careful with because of the scams. Facebook Marketplace is another place. But if you don't have a job right now, which I know someone was saying, hey, can I pay the rent up front? All of it. Technically, what you're allowed in Hawaii is deposit and first month's rent for the landlord to collect. They're not supposed to, by law, collect the whole thing up front. So that puts you, you're not, if you can get somebody to do that, that's fine, but you're not supposed to do that. And then on top of it, we do have a moratorium on evictions right now. So landlords are very particular in scrutinizing people on who they're going to rent to, because they don't want to get into a position where someone can't pay the rent all of a sudden. And if you don't have a job lined up, now you've got an uphill battle of trying to convince a landlord to rent to you, even though you have significant number of assets sitting there. They're not allowed to collect that whole month or that whole period of rent up front. And now they got to trust that you're going to get a job and that you're going to continue to pay rent.
Scott, what's your take on the general idea of, kind of leverage Airbnb in the Airbnb or vacation rentals, get a 1 month rent, use that as like your anchor to kind of get here. And then once you're here, you've got a month, you got 30 days, maybe 60 days. And then you could kind of like drive around, you could go through you could kind of get the local feel and find find the right place that you could potentially rent from, et cetera. What about that general approach? Again, the pets thing throws everything out the window. So Heidi, I want to hear what you say about that. But what about that general idea? Use Airbnb, use VRBO. I've also got corporate housing by owner. That's another source. It's like a VRBO, but use that for a month. Get a month, so it's easy. You get here, then you can start to look around. What about that general approach?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect approach to me. Is land, get here, get the move portion done, and you get into a place temporarily. You can start to get your feet on the ground a little bit. And with the empty units that are sitting down in Waikiki and whatnot, I think you got a better negotiation ability to be able to do that at a more affordable price. Some people don't want to do a double move though. So you either come and you try to have something set up for the longer term, that if you do that, you're moving at the end of that month into another place. And there is a little bit of a stress headache to that. But I love it because you get here, you get settled, the move part is done, you start to get your feet on the ground, and then you can start to explore and figure out where you do want to have that rental.
Yep, exactly. Great. All right, let's get into our Heidi. Talk to us about renting from an investment point of view. You're not going to be here 12 months out of the year. Maybe you come like as us. We had some snowbird questions earlier, and pets. And you could cover whatever you want to cover first, Heidi.
Sure. Well, I'll start with kind of the renting for investment and just kind of describe in general the rental market. So on Maui, there's lots of areas where you can do short-term vacation rentals. These are mostly in resort areas and mostly condominiums. So lots of areas where you can do short-term rentals, Airbnb, you can put it in a property management program. And a property like this works really well for, like, for example, I think it was Christina who wants to visit part of the year, but not necessarily live on Maui full time. Well, by owning a vacation rental property, she could come out, I mean, a month or two out of the year, whenever you want, and then the rest of the year rent as a vacation rental and earn some income to offset those costs of ownership. So you have the vacation rentals, and then you have other areas which are residential areas, residential condominiums, pretty much everywhere else that allows long-term rentals. So Maui County defines a long-term rental as 180 days or 6 months. So like for the person that's just looking for a 5-month rental, you might consider staying an extra month, because then you'd be able to find a 6-month rental, and they're generally 6 months to a year that you're allowed to do in those communities. And then as far as the pets, definitely more difficult to find a rental with pets. There's just, I mean, that's just the truth. There are very few condominiums that allow vacation rentals and pets. I mean, there's a handful of communities, and I could tell you which ones they are. And then for long-term rentals, it's kind of up to the landlord too. I mean, not every landlord, even if the complex allows pets, the landlord might not necessarily want to allow pets. So what some people do is, if they're not quite sure where they're going to be, is find a auntie or uncle or grandparent or somebody to watch your pet, secure your place to live, and then bring the pet over. And now you can do a program called direct release, where you can get all the shots and everything for your pet and get your pet ready to move to Maui. I mean, it's going to take your pet about 6 months to make sure they have all their paperwork and they're ready to move to Maui. So you want to start planning that in advance.
Yeah, the pet thing is a real big one. I think Dylan, Dylan gave you the sentiment. The Dylanism there is good luck. It's rough. And ironically, pets are, a lot of people have pets over here. In our neighborhood, we do our neighborhood walk, and man, there's more dogs than people going for walks in the neighborhood. Hey, gang. So just to wrap up this topic, we get, as we all know, we get a lot of questions about rent. We're going to make this a segment that I'm going to kind of edit out and send out as an individual piece. Is there anything any of you want to share with people who are looking to rent? Is there anything that we missed that you want to add? Anything? Dylan, did we miss anything?
Number one thing is, don't be picky. People have this really stringent criteria in mind of what they want to rent, and that's not going to work. You need to be flexible. You need to take what's available, and it may not be comfortable initially, but it is what it is because of the market the way it is. Just prepare to be flexible and don't be picky.
Don't be picky. Scott.
Yeah, on Oahu, and this was, I want to say 2 years ago, they changed this. So landlord can collect deposit, first month's rent, and the deposit can be equal to the first month's rent. And now they changed it 2 years ago to incentivize landlords to allow for pets, a pet fee that can be equal to the amount of the first month's rent as well. So if you do have pets, understand you could be paying essentially 3 months of rent up front, 2 of them in a deposit format, just to be able to get into a place if they're available.
Yeah, great. Heidi, any final thoughts that we missed that you want to share about renting at all?
Well, I want to share some good news to prospective renters. I was talking to a local property manager the other day, and for kind of the average rental, say a 1 or 2 bedroom condo, median prices for a rental of that type are actually down about 10% compared to a year ago. So rentals are a little more affordable. That said, of the 3 rental managers I talked to in the area that manage long-term rentals, they all had 0 inventory. So it's important to be ready and expect to compete on any type of rental here, no matter what it is. So, it's just the nature of the market, but do you know what? People do find places to live and make it happen. And yeah, that's just how it is.
Dylan, you were going to say something.
One more dynamic, right? So timing wise, because people are like, I'm coming 6 months from now, I need to find a rental. Probably not the best or most effective way to make that happen, because most rental managers are looking maybe a month, 30 to 60 days out, right? They know a tenant is leaving and they're going to have inventory opening. So again, going back to not being picky, you kind of have to pick from what's available like 30 to 60 days before you get here, because that's when things will start coming available. Rental managers will know that there's going to be some inventory. It's going to be super limited, but that's going to be your window. Like if you're looking 6 months out, nobody's going to secure you a rental 6 months from now. It's going to be very hard, and your inventory is going to be way more limited.
Yeah, and to top onto that, part of the reason it's limited is tenants have to give 30-day notice to the landlords, and tenants aren't going to give a 6-month notice typically. They're going to give it the last minute, the last 30 days, because they most likely have a new place secured or are going to be moving off. So landlords typically don't even find out about it until the tenant gives them that notice.
Excellent. Hey, thanks, gang. This was a great thing on renting. I hope that this video, we can share this video with all the folks who want to rent in Hawaii and help them get the rent as a place to rent as easy as possible. Ray has some words of wisdom here. I want to share what Ray's got. It's a big comment here. So there goes. Ray says, our rental problem, mobility issues, no stairs and a walk-in shower were absolutely necessary, which cut our 80% of available rentals. Also wanted windward side of Oahu. Mid-November, we found a 2-bedroom, 1-bath cottage in Coconut Grove, Kailua, got a 6-month lease, then month-to-month, same price. 6-month lease is necessary. Got to have a Hawaii driver's license and residency. Thanks, Ray. Really appreciate it. Again, we have a question here from Megan. Megan is a member of the Islander Ohana. She's part of our group over here, and she says, hello all, hoping to purchase a second home in Hawaii this year. Is 5% down with no contingencies acceptable, or do we need to save up a bit more for the 10 to 20% or more to make an aggressive offer? I think what Megan's asking about is, what do we got to do to make an aggressive offer? I should note that Hawaii condo will be our primary residence, which is why our lender said we can do the 5%. And then hopping on here late, looking forward to watching it back later. So Scott, what would you say? It's a crazy market, right? It's bananas. Everyone's saying the market's bananas and crazy. What's your quick advice for Megan on what she's going to need to do to be competitive in buying a home condo?
Well, so first I would say, no, you can do 5% down. I would be a little leery of the 5% down on the condo. I would recommend working with a local lender for one, because the guidelines are different here, and 5% down on condos is not as common. But what I would say is trying to save up, if the condos here, which the median price is, let's call it $500,000, it's actually like $450,000. $500,000 and prices go up 5% this year. That's $25,000 more you got to save just to stay even with them. So how long is it going to take you to save that additional 5 to 15% for the down payment? You're better off getting in, especially in this market. The sooner you get in, the better, because it's getting hot. And I would recommend not doing so. There's a lot of people that are writing 100% financing VA offers, and they're getting acceptance. There's other things we're having to do: appraisal contingency removal, escalation clauses. Buyer will not request any credits or repairs from the seller, writing that in the contract. There's a whole bunch of other little things that we can do to strengthen the offer without having a heavy down payment.
Great. Anybody want to chime in and give some additional advice for Megan if she's looking to be competitive with buying a condo? Anyone want to share anything?
Well, assuming that you're in a competition, the lower your down payment, the lower you are on your competitiveness, right? So if you have multiple offers, cash is going to rank at the highest. Then the next highest amount of down payment, maybe somebody's putting 50% down, and then 20, then 10, then 5, right? So you're going to be at the bottom of the totem pole the lower your down payment is. You can definitely do a low down payment loan if it's not competitive, right? If it's a normal house, been on the market for 30 days, they don't have any other offers, no multiple offers, then you're good to go. There's lots of different programs for low down payment programs. But if there's multiple offers, you're probably going to be the least competitive with a low down payment.
Got it. Heidi, is there anything you want to share?
Yeah, I wanted to add, to be competitive, and Scott mentioned this already, you want to get pre-approved with a local lender. And my recent experience in the condo market, particularly if people are looking to buy a second home or an investment property, banks are now requiring, or at least the banks that we've been dealing with, 30 to 35% down payment for those type of properties. So for a more residential property, maybe 5% down would work. You know, it's up to the lender. But listing agents here are going to want to see a lender that has a track record of closing loans in that area. And I just wanted to add something else. I mean, even when you're making a super competitive offer, personally, I would never recommend somebody to have absolutely zero contingencies. I mean, I think you'd want to have at least some kind of inspection contingency or something in there.
Thank you, Heidi. Great advice from everybody. Scott, you want to throw something in real quick?
Yeah, and the reason I question the 5% down is because everything I've been dealing with right now for second home from all local lenders is 20% down on the second home. So I did have one at 10%, but most of them are closer to the 20% that I've been dealing with.
Got it. Hey, Megan, hope that was helpful. I want to move on to a question we have from Christina. Now, Christina sent us a question. She sent us a question a while ago via the form, and I give as best I can priority to the folks who submitted their question via the form and show up for the show. That's like the double bonus. So we're going to hit Christina's questions right now. And here it is. She said, look, we're planning to move to Oahu this spring or summer. What neighborhoods with housing in the 1.5 to 3 million range do mainland families with school-age kids typically flock towards? So, Scott, what would you say to Christina, who's with her question?
Yeah, you pretty much got the pick of the litter at this point. Diamond Head, Kahala would be probably top priority or best areas for younger children, more level ground, close proximity to Honolulu and everything you need in the urban core, yet you're removed in our most prominent neighborhoods with, wider streets. You have Kapiolani Park. You've got several parks around. You got Kahala Mall. So you can get to grocery stores and shops pretty quickly and easily. On top of that, any kids' activities are right close by as well, typically. And if you are having to go into the urban core, it's not too far. You can also do the ridges. The ridges are dynamite. Especially, I have a client that came here one time and said, look, I didn't come 99% of the way not to get that last 1%, the view. And I said, okay, I get it. So if view is important to you in that aspect as well, the ridges are great. So you're talking Wailea Iki, Hawaii Lower Ridge, Wailea Nui Ridge, even St. Louis Heights you could do. But what comes with those is a much steeper terrain. So it's not as kid friendly. It's not as walkable. And your commute up and down, in and out of the ridge is going to take you somewhere between, 2 and 7 minutes to get. If you're at the top, it can take you 7 minutes just to get down, which means you're doing a lot more driving. You're going to have to get out on the highway before you can get to grocery stores and things such as that. And then you can go Hawaii Kai, Kailua even. But a lot of it depends on where you're going to be spending your lifestyle, where you're going to be. The schools in those areas are very good. But if you're going to be dealing with a lot of urban core commuting, or if the kids have activities, which most of them are going to take place in town, then you're probably going to want to be closer to the urban core. I've had clients that live in Kailua, for example, and the kids had 3 kids going to Punahou, and they spent all their time over here, and they wouldn't get home to Kailua till about 7 at night. So they ended up moving to Kahala.
And Punahou is one of the top private schools in Hawaii. It's in the urban core, as you call it. So it gets kind of tiring to have to go back and forth to Kailua, which it's an easy 25-minute drive in either direction, at least probably about more like a half hour. Yeah, excellent. Scott, anything else you want to add on Christina's question?
Not really. I mean, Manoa is so close to all of those, and you talk about, you could walk to school at that point if you took your kids to Punahou. Yeah, which is a great neighborhood.
Manoa is a really great urban core neighborhood. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's upscale. It's near everything. It's one reason why it's so desirable. But it's also very raining in Manoa, so you better like the rain because it is definitely a wet tropical thing. Okay, thanks very much, Scott. We got a quick question here that I want to hit from Mark Lowe, another member of our Islander Ohana. Mark, so glad that you're a part of what we're doing. Is there a concern about a bubble similar to 2008? developing through this hot market. So Mark's got a bubble concern. What do y'all say about that? Let's go in reverse. Heidi, we'll go Heidi, then Scott, then Dylan. Bubble concerns.
Well, I don't think it's quite the same. And one of the reasons is lenders are pretty strict these days. I mean, I'm finding that lenders are stricter than ever and requiring checking, verifying people's income up to right before closing, requiring higher down payments if it's an investment property. You know, prior to 2008 was a totally different situation. And also, I mean, while our market is busy and yes, there's a lot of activity, I don't see people out there just willing to pay whatever for anything because they just think real estate in general, they're just going to buy it, whatever it is. The people that are buying, I mean, are wanting to invest in something to improve their lifestyle. It's not just, you know, any condo, I'm going to buy it. And I mean, most of the buyers I work with, well, all the buyers I work with, I mean, we're looking at the comps, we're looking at the value of the neighborhood too. I mean, it's not just, you know, buy anything kind of market.
Scott, now I got to tell you guys, you know, that the biggest sign of a bubble is when someone says there ain't going to be no bubble coming, right? That's when you know a bubble's coming. But that all being said, what's your thoughts, Scott, about a bubble in this market?
So the key there is similar to 2008. No, I don't in the short run see a bubble coming. If you continue this path, and we hit 10% price appreciation this past year, our historic average over 35 years is 4.6%. So and we were trending along that, which was very sustainable. If we have 10%, 10%, 10%, at some point you're going to have a correction. I don't see it in the near future. Why we're different from 2008 is because after 2008, lenders got very strict. Prior to 2008, if you breathed on a mirror and could fog it, you could get a loan. And people were doing 100% financing. They were negative amortization loans, things people shouldn't have been getting into. And everyone thought it was going to keep going. And we had 20% price appreciation in a year. We're not at those marks, and lenders have been so restrictive. You've had to really prove that you could get in on something from 2008 on. So there's plenty of equity in these properties. It's not like people are going to go belly up here all of a sudden. Interest rates are low. That's what's driving this right now. The Fed said they're not going to raise interest rates for 3 years. They're not looking to. So housing became more affordable on that monthly payment standpoint, but because of that, that's what we're seeing in this pricing. And we're going to see more momentum because of, like what we said. I mean, Elon Musk just moved to Texas. Larry Ellison moved to Lanai. I got a number of clients from Oracle, Facebook, Google, different places that they're now allowing them to work remotely. So you're seeing this shift, this demographic shift for people, and it's bringing people here. So I don't see it being a bubble, not anytime soon. I think we need several more years of this run, because all we're doing right now is eliminating that affordability that was created from the interest rate drop. We got a ways to go before we go well past that.
For going to bubble. Dylan, I believe you had a story that you were one of these people who fogged the mirror a long time ago and got a house. What's your sense of the state of the Mark's? How would you respond to Mark's question about, hey, is this a bubble going on?
The biggest thing that is going to prevent that from happening is the legal framework, right? If you look up the Dodd-Frank financial regulations that went into effect, I think 2009, 2010, after the bubble. But as Peter alluded to, I'm a perfect example of what caused the bubble, right? So when I was 24 years old, out of the military, going to college on the GI Bill, no job, no savings, no investments, no down payment. I got a loan to buy a house with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, who had been teaching for 6 months. Same thing, same boat, no, very little income, no savings, nothing. But we got that loan to buy that house the first time, which was a blessing. We made a lot of appreciation off of that, which led into future homes that we bought. We recently bought a house. We've bought 2 houses since then. The second time it was, very stringent, but even this third time earlier this year, they called me the morning of closing. They called my cell phone, which is listed as my office number, right, to verify that I was still employed. So before they funded the loan and we could close on this house, they were checking one more time that nothing had happened. So it was a much more painful process, having a down payment, having income, having assets. I mean, being a totally qualified buyer. The process this time 11 years later from the last time we did it was much, much different. And those are the things that are going to prevent another bubble, is those legal frameworks and regulations that are now in place. Because before, there was a lot of corruption in the industry where realtors and mortgage brokers and appraisers were all working together. So, a realtor would get an offer in on a house that was overpriced, and then the appraiser would then appraise it overpriced, and then the lender would do a loan on it that it was overpriced. And so all of that stuff went away. It's called RESPA. There's all of these legal regulations now that prevent all that stuff from happening. You can't pick your lender anymore, or the lenders can't pick the appraisers and pay them off on the side. They give them an appraisal that is overvalued. So it's a much different environment than it was in 2007, 2008.
Dylan, my only question for you is, when they called the office, which was your cell phone, and when you answered it, did you tell them that you were still working for yourself?
I did. That's definitely a flaw. I don't think that's everybody's situation, but
that's all I wanted. Anyway, that's a good one. Thanks, Dylan.
They were called ninja loans, right? No job, no income or assets. Ninja loans.
Oh, ninja loans. Okay, no job, no income, no assets. Okay, yeah. Cool. Hey, Paul. Paul has been a guest here for many times, or I should say a viewer or watcher. Paul, welcome back. Aloha again. We're looking forward to coming over very soon. So, Scott, is Paul in touch with you? I mean, Paul, make sure you're if you haven't already filled out the form, click on in the description.
I was just emailing with him yesterday. So he's
awesome. Well, you are in good hands, buddy. You are in good hands with the team over here. Hey, look, our time is up, and I'm just wondering how do you guys feel about? We didn't do our diamonds and deals. We've had so much fun with answering everybody. Do you folks have time? Are we good for a few more minutes to go over a little diamonds? Okay, great. Let's do that. So we got diamonds and deals. This is a fun part. I've Dylan and Scott and Heidi pulled together inspirational properties that are either can sit on the diamond side, which is like, wow, something that'd be amazing, or a deal, something that would be a good value, or sometimes both. We get a diamond and a deal, and so it's really a fun part. And so let's get into that. So let's see here. Well, this is, oh my God. So this is Pualoa Nani Place in Wailea, Maui for $3.7 million. Heidi, what are we looking at?
So this is a stunning, completely remodeled home. It's part of Wailea Resort, which is one of the most prestigious areas on Maui. And 3693, it's a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath home, a little over 2,200 square feet. And just, I wish I could show more pictures of it. It's just absolutely stunning. So
the pictures don't seem to do it justice. What is have you been at this property? If you have, what's your favorite part of it?
Well, I love the entry with the stairs. I mean, it has an incredible ocean view as well. And just, I like the white stucco, the contrast of the trim. It seems a little European styling in a way, and just really classy and completely move-in ready. I mean, it would be easy to buy this and just move right over.
Seems like a huge lanai on top over there. It's like another house, basically. It's like a covered open house would be, and I would think that's where those ocean views would be. So, great one. Thank you, Heidi. All right, let's do our next one here. North Shore condo. Scott, I didn't know there were condos on the North Shore.
Oh yeah, I had a couple of things here with my theme. We had some insane surf, so I wanted to keep with the North Shore concept and kind of give you guys this perspective. Plus, you guys always laugh at how expensive I say something's a deal over here, and you guys laugh at it and say, "Oh, that's expensive." Oahu is so expensive compared to the other islands. So this is Ono Vista. You might be able to see the little red dot in the lower left corner. That is the building. There's actually two buildings. There's an east and a west. And you're about 100 feet, 200 feet to the ocean, to the beach, which you can see there. All the way down the Kaiana Point is the point in the background down there. This is in Wailua, short drive to Haleiwa, the less busy side of the North Shore, and some great snorkeling out here. Even from this unit where you're located, if the surf's crashing, you can hear it. This unit happens to be on the top floor. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. For $485,000 with 1 parking stall. They got great amenities. They got a nice pool, sauna, the barbecue area. This is one of my favorite complexes. I've sold 4 or 5 of these units over the years. And but you can literally walk out of your unit, walk down to a public access right away. There's a beach park, there's a basketball court as well, and a super quiet location.
Man, if you want to live the North Shore lifestyle, I dare say on the cheap, North Shore lifestyle on the cheap, 2-bedroom, 1-bath for $485, and it looks like the pictures there, Scott. There you've got like this sort of reefy, snorkely, tide pooly thing kind of right in front. If you walk straight out, and then you look further down the beach, there's like a big sandy area. So it means like a nice swimming hole, sort of a big swimming hole further on down is what it looks like.
Yeah, there's some good accesses to get out where it's not reefy and you can go right out sandy, snorkel, scuba dive. I had a client that used to scuba dive from there all the time, lived in Ona Vista.
Yeah.
But this unit's fully renovated and the maintenance fee is it's about $780 a month, just to give perspective.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Scott. All right. Well, Scott, it looks like you're the cheapest this week. So there you go. So two shade of that. Dylan, 3 acres and 2,900 square feet in Makale Estates, 1.65 million. My God, what is this?
I don't know if that picture in the middle does it justice, but that's like a sweeping 180-degree view of the Kona coastline. That's you're sitting in the living room looking out over your pool to the coastline and the ocean. So this is a good example of the kind of value you can get in on the Big Island. You get 3 full acres. Makale Estates is one of my favorite. It's kind of a luxury agricultural development. So it's just north of Kona, up on the hill above the airport, and they're all 3-acre lots. So lots of standoff, lots of privacy. You can have a little farm if you want, some coffee, some avocados, mango. There's plenty of space for that stuff. There's people with horse arenas, different things. So you can kind of have that mix of a country lifestyle, but also luxury living. And it's just a beautiful home. I mean, 1.65 million for 3 acres and 3,000 square feet in a luxury home. Great value. I would expect this to be gone in a couple of days. So if you want it, call me today.
Call now. Operators are standing by.
Yeah.
That is a stunning property. So what immediately comes to my mind is that we have a bunch of remote workers here. How's the internet? Because man, if I'm a remote worker, and first of all, how's the internet here? How's the internet and the electricity?
There's almost nowhere on the island, even if you live pretty rural, where the internet's bad. I mean, even there's some areas where they don't necessarily have like the high-speed fiber to it, but then there's guys that set up these like towers that get like high-speed satellite internet and they beam it straight to your house. So there's kind of some new technology out there where you can get really good high-speed streaming services, even if you don't have the actual wires to your house. So internet is almost never a concern.
Okay, so there you go, man. You're a remote worker. Why on earth would you not want this to be your living room view? My God, that's incredible. Hey, gang, we're going to wrap up another really good show over here. Let me get to my. Hold on a second here. I'm going to get to our little closing thought screen. As usual, been great to have everybody here. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We're gonna let's do some closing thoughts, and we're gonna go clockwise around for closing thoughts because Dylan started this whole thing with closing thoughts. Dylan, what's your closing thought for today?
And one of my favorite sayings is you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So I like spending time with you guys because they're great people, but that I think applies completely in life, whether it's at work or your family or the people you spend time online with. If you're spending time with good, positive, productive people, you'll probably be a positive, productive person. And if you're not, then you got to reflect on who you're spending your time with. So
that's a great line. You're the average of the 5 people you spend time with. That's a really, really cool.
The most time with.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. Scott, what's your closing thought for today?
Yeah. Keeping with the remote work theme in general. My parents live in North Carolina. They come out for a month every year and they typically stay at Sans Souci down on the Gold Coast. And I go down there and I'll spend a significant amount of time with them. I take my computer. I can work remotely and I've been able to work remotely forever. I was even doing it when I was in Brazil at the World Cup, which was pretty neat. But my stress level when I do that, when I sit down there, is significantly lower. And a lot of times I'll work out here on my Lanai and Diamond Head and I'm able to get a lot more done with so much less stress, with keeping kind of a centered piece here. I feel like I've been doing this for 21 years already, right? Having lived out here for this long, and this is the lifestyle and whatnot. So anybody thinking about doing it's here, and life is better. It's being able to live here and work remotely.
I can't think of anything cooler than working remotely in Hawaii. I mean, that would be, man. I mean, there was no such thing as remote work back in the 80s when I first moved there. When I first moved to Hawaii, we didn't even have good phone service. Hawaii was a quick note. Hawaii was so back in the early 80s when I moved here, mid 80s. There were a bunch of, you couldn't even make a toll-free 800 number to the mainland. For a lot of numbers did not work 800 toll-free. You actually had to pay for tolls just to make 800 number calls. Calling a mom on Mother's Day, you had to call early because all circuits would be busy. So those are back in the old days. Anyway, that's the old man's closing thought. Heidi, what's your closing thought for today?
Well, my closing thought is, I think all of us are searching for our own personal paradise, whatever that may be. And I was just really drawn to live on Maui, and I love the connection to nature. I love being able to hear the ocean and walk up in the hills and in the woods. And I think the biggest luxury of all, we talk about all these luxury homes, and, I just showed a $3.6 million home in Wailea. I mean, the biggest luxury of all for me is the beautiful weather in the winter, and to just walk outside and hear the birds singing and not be cold. And I love it.
Yeah, as a fellow Midwesterner, because you are from Illinois as well, Heidi, as a fellow Midwesterner, I could not agree with you more. Walking out in January there's nothing better than having your windows and doors open in January in your house and not freezing your butt off. There's just nothing beats that at all. And, Heidi, I have to share a thought. You mentioned something about, people are looking for their own paradise. When the first place I ever experienced Hawaii was in Maui. I landed in Maui for a vacation, and we were driving around the road to Hana, and I kept driving, and it became an adventure all by itself. But we went into this estate, which I understand today was the Charles Lindbergh estate, and I didn't know what it was, but we drove up there. And it was just the most amazing property I've ever seen to this day in my life, because it was maybe my first impression, but it was on a rugged coast with tropical thing and fruit trees, and it was just amazing. And there was a sign there that said, if you're looking for paradise, you have found it. It is here. It is here. And I will never forget that. And so I guess that's my closing thought. Your paradise is here. All right, everybody. Love you all. Thank you all for kind of hanging out with us. It was great kind of seeing you guys come back. Great here with the team. Thank you, Dylan, for being here. Thank you, Scott, for being here. Thank you, Heidi, for being here. Folks, we're going to say our aloha, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Got questions? Put them in the description. There's links in the description. Got a question? Throw it in there. You want to work with Dylan or Scott or Heidi? Put it in. There's a link in the description. See you next week. See you in 2 weeks. Aloha.
Aloha, everybody.
Aloha.